What if I told you that right now, there's $250 million sitting in a landfill somewhere in Wales? What if I told you that a simple friendship was destroyed over invisible money that never really existed? And what if I told you that the internet's darkest secret was hiding behind a children's story? These aren't conspiracy theories. These aren't urban legends. These are 3 real stories that will make you question everything you think you know about the digital world we live in. By the end of this video, you'll understand why one man is still digging through garbage 20 years later, why a friendship worth more than money was sacrificed on the altar of greed, and how law enforcement agencies across the globe coordinated the largest digital takedown in history. But first, and this is important, if you've ever lost money on crypto, if you've ever trusted someone with your savings, or if you think the internet is just fun and games, you need to hear these stories. Let's start with the man who literally threw away a fortune. It's 2013. Bitcoin is still this weird internet money that only tech nerds care about. James Howell, not his real name but we'll call him James, is cleaning out his house in Newport, Wales. He's got this old laptop. Worthless piece of junk, right? Takes forever to boot up, screen flickers, probably has viruses. So what does he do? He tosses it straight into the trash. Now here's where it gets interesting. 3 months later, James is reading the news about Bitcoin hitting new highs and suddenly, it hits him. That old laptop? It had his Bitcoin wallet on it. The wallet with the private keys to 7,500 Bitcoins. In 2013, when he threw it away, that was worth about $8 million. By 2017, $100 million. Today in 2025, we're talking about $250 million. $250 million. Can you imagine that feeling? Can you imagine realizing you threw away enough money to buy a small country? But here's where James refuses to give up. He goes to the city council. He offers them millions, just for the chance to search the landfill. They say no. He hires private investigators. Dead end. He gets lawyers involved. Legal nightmare. He even accuses council members of stealing his laptop. Nothing. Think about this from James's perspective. Every single day for the last 12 years, he wakes up knowing he's probably the poorest rich man on earth. Every time he sees Bitcoin in the news, every time someone talks about crypto, he's reminded of the worst decision he ever made. Somewhere in a landfill the size of a football field, under tons and tons of garbage, sits a machine that could change his life forever. And there's absolutely nothing he can do about it. But James's story isn't unique. What happened to him happens to regular people every day. And that brings us to our second story. Spring 2021. The world is coming out of lockdown, everyone's stuck at home and crypto is everywhere. TikTok, YouTube, your uncle at family dinner, everyone's talking about getting rich quick. That's when Alex, again not his real name, first heard about Luna and TerraUSD. Now before we go further, let me explain what this actually was, because the marketing was brilliant and the reality was terrifying. TerraUSD was marketed as a stable coin, meaning it would always be worth exactly $1. Luna was the backing asset. When TerraUSD went up, Luna went down. When TerraUSD went down, Luna went up. Perfect balance, right? The pitch was simple. Luna can't crash because it's backed by billions of dollars. It's mathematically impossible to fail. Alex had $490 to his name. That's it. His entire savings. But he'd been watching Luna climb from 50 cents to $6, then to $20. His crypto buddy was making 400% returns. So Alex did what millions of people did. He bought 100 Luna tokens at $4.81 each. His girlfriend thought he was insane. His childhood friend Chris, a car mechanic who trusted the physical world more than the digital one, called him an idiot for spending $500 on invisible money. But then something beautiful happened. Luna started climbing. $10, $20, $30, By August 2021, Alex's $490 investment was worth nearly $3,000. Picture Chris's face when Alex showed him the wallet. This guy who'd been mocking fake internet money suddenly realized his friend had made more in a few months than Chris made in several paychecks. "Can you just cash out whenever you want?" Chris asked. And that's when everything changed. Chris started asking about crypto every time they hung out. Every conversation became about Luna's price. Every gathering became a pitch session. By December 2021, Luna hit $93. Alex's investment was worth over $19,000. Chris couldn't take it anymore. He wanted in. January 2022. Luna dips to $45. Alex calls Chris. "This is it. This is your moment." Chris doesn't buy 100 tokens like Alex did. He doesn't buy 50. He buys 300 tokens. Nearly $14,000. Money he couldn't afford to lose. By March, Chris's investment was worth almost $30,000. He doubled his money. He was calling Alex a genius, buying him drinks, telling everyone how his friend had changed his life. "We're going to be millionaires by the end of the year," Chris kept saying. May 11, 2022. 3:30 a.m. Alex wakes up sick from food poisoning, checks his phone, and watches his entire world collapse in real time. Luna, $70, $50, $33, $16, $13. The mathematically impossible crash was happening. In hours, not days or weeks. Hours. 50 missed calls from Chris. 24 text messages getting angrier and more desperate with each one. "Bro, are you seeing this? This cannot be happening. Pick up the F******ng phone. Are you ducking me right now?" 4 a.m. Someone's buzzing Alex's apartment from downstairs. It's Chris. Drunk. Angry. Swaying on his feet. "Open the F******ng door. We need to talk." Alex suggests Chris go home, sleep it off, talk in the morning. Boom. Chris starts kicking the door. Screaming. Threatening to kill Alex when he gets inside. Imagine being on the other side of that door. Your best friend since high school, someone you trusted with everything, is now threatening your life because of advice you gave him. If Alex's neighbor hadn't come out with a weapon, if Chris hadn't backed down, this story might have ended very differently. The police came. Alex didn't press charges. He tried calling Chris for weeks. No answer. Blocked on everything. Complete silence. See, what Alex didn't know, what Chris didn't know, what millions of investors didn't know, was that Terra USD was never backed by real dollars. It was an algorithmic stable coin. The mathematical impossibility of failure was actually mathematical certainty. It was essentially a very sophisticated Ponzi scheme that fooled some of the smartest investors in the world. Alex lost $490. Chris lost $14,000. But more importantly, they both lost something worth more than any amount of money could ever buy. They lost each other. Now, you might think that's the darkest story we're covering today. You'd be wrong. September 2nd, 1998. 5 a.m. 13 countries. Over 100 suspects. One coordinated strike. What I'm about to tell you represents one of the most important law enforcement operations in internet history. It's also one of the most disturbing. This isn't speculation. This isn't theory. These are documented facts from court records, FBI files, and international police reports. The target was something called the Wonderland Club. The name came from Lewis Carroll's famous story, but there was nothing whimsical about what these people were doing. I need to be very careful with how I explain this, because we're dealing with the protection of children. But you need to understand the scale and sophistication of what law enforcement was up against. The Wonderland Club wasn't just a loose network of criminals. It was a highly organized, international operation with strict membership requirements, hierarchical structure, and advanced encryption. To join, you needed to provide 10,000 pieces of evidence of crimes against children. These had to be unique, not already in circulation within the group. Members in 14 countries. 250,000 images. Nearly 2,000 videos. All organized, cataloged, and traded like a horrific stock market. The investigation started in 1996 when the FBI stumbled across evidence during an unrelated cybercrime case. What they found was so massive, so international, that no single country could handle it alone. Think about the law enforcement officers who had to work this case. Think about having to immerse yourself in evidence of the worst crimes imaginable, day after day for 2 years, just to build cases that would hold up in court. They had to go undercover. They had to infiltrate these networks. They had to pretend to be criminals while documenting everything for prosecution. There's a quote from philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche. He who fights monsters should be careful lest he thereby become a monster. The technical challenges were enormous. This was 1998. Most people barely understood email, let alone encrypted peer-to-peer networks and anonymous remailers. The Wonderland Club was using technology that most law enforcement agencies had never seen before. But after 2 years of investigation, they were ready. September 2, 1998. Coordinated raids across 13 countries. Over 100 arrests. Millions of pieces of evidence seized. Gary Salt in the UK, 12 years in prison. David Hines, 30 months. Multiple suspects in the US, up to 20 years each. But more importantly, and this is why this operation mattered, children were rescued. Victims were identified. Ongoing crimes were stopped. This wasn't just about punishment. This was about protection. Operation Cathedral became the model for every major international cybercrime investigation that followed. Operation Avalanche in 2001. Operation Or in 2002. Dozens of others. The internet was still new in 1998. Most people thought it was just for email and maybe buying books from Amazon. But law enforcement agencies around the world realized that if the worst criminals could organize globally, then the good guys needed to organize globally too. Today, because of operations like Cathedral, we have international cybercrime units, real-time information sharing between countries, and sophisticated tools for tracking digital evidence. But it all started with that dawn raid in a small English town, when police officers realized that the internet wasn't just the future of communication, it was also the future of crime. So what do these 3 stories have in common? They're all about the same thing. The moment when the digital world collided with reality and reality won. James learned that digital wealth means nothing if you can't access it. Alex learned that digital investments can destroy real relationships. And law enforcement learned that digital crimes require real-world cooperation. But here's what I want you to take away from this. The internet isn't magic. Cryptocurrency isn't magic. Technology isn't magic. Behind every digital system, there are real people making real decisions that have real consequences. James is still fighting to access his Bitcoin. 12 years later, he hasn't given up. Alex and Chris never spoke again. A friendship that survived high school, college, and early adulthood couldn't survive a cryptocurrency crash. And somewhere out there, because of Operation Cathedral, children are safe who might not have been otherwise. If this video changed how you think about technology, crypto, or online safety, then you need to subscribe right now. We dive deep into stories like this every week, stories that reveal the human cost of our digital world. Hit that notification bell because next week we're covering the story of the man who accidentally became a millionaire because of a software bug, and why the company is still trying to get their money back 15 years later. And if you think you know how that story ends, trust me, you don't. Thanks for watching, and remember, in the digital world, the only thing that's guaranteed is that nothing is guaranteed.